Line graphs are one of the most powerful tools for visualizing how data changes over time. They excel at revealing trends, patterns, and relationships that might not be obvious in raw numbers. Every line graph has two main components. The horizontal x-axis typically represents time, like days, months, or years. The vertical y-axis represents the quantity we're measuring. Let's see how this works with a real example. Imagine we're tracking monthly sales for a small business. Each data point represents the sales total for that month. Now we connect these points with lines to create our line graph. This connection reveals the story hidden in our data, the trends and patterns over time. The key to reading line graphs is understanding what the slopes tell us. An upward slope indicates an increasing trend. Values are growing over time. A downward slope shows a decreasing trend. Values are falling. A fluctuating line reveals varying patterns with ups and downs. Remember these key points when reading line graphs. The x-axis typically represents time. The y-axis shows what you're measuring. Upward slopes indicate growth. Downward slopes show decline. And connecting the dots reveals the complete story of your data over time. Line graphs are your window into understanding how things change over time. Whether you're tracking business performance, analyzing scientific data, or monitoring personal goals, line graphs make trends visible and actionable. Pie charts are one of the most recognizable types of data visualization. They're perfect for showing how different parts make up a complete whole, just like slices of a pie. Let's see how this works with a market share example. Imagine 4 companies competing in the same market. Each slice of our pie represents one company's share of the total market. Company A holds the largest share at 40%, shown by the biggest slice. Company B has 25%, Company C has 20%, and Company D has the smallest share at 15%. Notice how all the slices add up to 100% of the market. This is the key strength of pie charts. They clearly show how parts relate to the whole. Here's another practical example. A company's budget allocation. The pie chart makes it easy to see that salaries take up the largest portion at 45%, followed by marketing at 20%. Remember these key points about pie charts. They're best for showing parts of a whole. All slices must add up to 100%. They work best with 3 to 7 categories, and they're perfect for displaying market share, budgets, and survey results. Pie charts are powerful tools for visual communication because they make proportions immediately clear to your audience. When you need to show how different parts contribute to a total, pie charts are often your best choice. Imagine looking at this chart. You see bars of different heights, but what do they represent? What time period? What units are we measuring? Without proper titles and labels, data visualization becomes a guessing game. Titles and labels are the foundation of effective data visualization. They transform confusing numbers into clear, meaningful information that anyone can understand. A good title provides immediate context. It should clearly state what the chart shows, the time period covered, and any other essential information needed to understand the data. Now let's see the same chart with proper titles and labels. Notice how much clearer the information becomes when we add these essential elements. Labels are equally important. Axis labels tell us what variables we're measuring, while unit labels specify how we're measuring them. Without units, numbers are meaningless. Here are the key takeaways for creating effective titles and labels. Remember these guidelines whenever you create or analyze data visualizations. Remember, good titles and labels are like a roadmap for your data. They guide viewers to understand exactly what they're looking at and help them draw meaningful conclusions from the information presented. Reading charts and graphs effectively requires a systematic approach. Let me show you a proven 5-step method that will help you understand any data visualization you encounter. Step 1. Identify the topic. Look at the title and overall structure to understand what the chart is about. Our example shows monthly sales data organized by different product categories. Step 2. Determine what is being measured. Look at the axes labels and data categories. Here we're measuring sales amounts in dollars across 4 different product categories: electronics, clothing, books, and home goods. Step 3. Understand how it's being measured. The units. Check the axis labels for units of measurement. Our y-axis shows dollar amounts in thousands, indicated by the K symbol, ranging from $0 to $50,000. Step 4. Interpret color coding and visual elements. Different colors often represent different categories or data series. In our chart, each product category has its own distinct teal shade, making it easy to distinguish between electronics, clothing, books, and home products. Step 5. Summarize the information in your own words. Based on our analysis, we can conclude that electronics leads in monthly sales at $45,000, followed by clothing at $32,000, home products at $25,000, and books at $18,000. This 5-step approach works for any chart or graph you encounter. By systematically identifying the topic, understanding what's measured, checking units, interpreting visual elements, and summarizing your findings, you'll be able to extract meaningful insights from even the most complex data visualizations. Trend analysis is like being a detective with data. You're looking for clues and patterns that tell a story about what's happening over time and what might happen next. Trend analysis involves examining data over time to identify consistent patterns. These patterns help us understand what's been happening and make educated guesses about future values. Let's look at our first type of trend, an upward trend. Watch as this sales data reveals a consistent pattern of growth over time. This upward trend shows consistent growth. Each data point is generally higher than the previous one, indicating positive momentum that could continue into the future. Now let's examine a downward trend. This pattern shows values consistently decreasing over time, which might indicate declining performance or market conditions. The downward trend reveals a concerning pattern. Each point is generally lower than the previous one, suggesting the need for intervention or strategy changes. Some data shows cyclical or seasonal patterns. This retail sales data reveals predictable peaks and valleys that repeat over time, like holiday shopping seasons. Notice how the data rises and falls in a predictable pattern. The highlighted areas show seasonal peaks, likely corresponding to holiday shopping periods. Here are the key strategies for effective trend analysis. First, always look for the overall direction of your data. Is it generally moving up, down, or staying flat? Second, check for consistency. A true trend should show a relatively consistent pattern, not just random fluctuations. Third, look for repeating cycles or seasonal patterns that might help you predict when peaks and valleys will occur. Finally, always consider external factors. Economic conditions, seasonal events, or industry changes can all influence trends and help explain what you're seeing in the data. Remember, trend analysis is about finding the story in your data. The better you become at spotting these patterns, the more confident you'll be in making predictions and informed decisions. Predictive analysis is one of the most powerful applications of data visualization. It allows us to use historical data patterns to forecast what might happen in the future. Let's start with a practical example. Here we have a chart showing company sales data over several years. This historical data will be the foundation for our predictions. Here's our historical sales data from 2018 to 2023. Notice how the data shows an overall upward trend, despite some fluctuations like the dip in 2020. Now we add a trend line to our historical data. This line represents the overall pattern or trend in our data, smoothing out the individual fluctuations to show the general direction. Here's where predictive analysis becomes powerful. We extend our trend line into the future to forecast what sales might look like in 2024 and 2025. The orange area represents our predictions. Based on our trend line, we can predict specific values. For 2024, we forecast approximately 78,000 in sales, and for 2025, about 85,000. This type of predictive analysis has many real-world applications. Let's explore where this technique is commonly used. Predictive analysis is widely used in sales forecasting to predict future revenue, market analysis to understand growth trends, customer growth prediction, and budget planning for resource allocation. While predictive analysis is powerful, it's important to understand its limitations and best practices. Remember these key points. Predictions are estimates, not guarantees. More historical data typically leads to better predictions. External factors can disrupt trends, and regularly updating your forecasts improves accuracy over time. Period over period charts are powerful tools that help us compare data from different time periods to understand performance trends and variations. The key insight is that instead of comparing consecutive periods like January to February, we compare the same period from different years, such as Q1 2024 versus Q1 2023. Let's look at a practical example. Here we have quarterly sales data comparing 2023 to 2024 performance. We'll display the data using bars, with light blue representing 2023 sales and teal representing 2024 sales for each quarter. Now watch as we populate the chart with actual sales data. Notice how each quarter shows growth from 2023 to 2024. Looking at the specific numbers, we can see consistent growth across all quarters. Q1 grew from 120K to 140K, Q2 from 150K to 165K, and so on. The period over period comparison reveals the growth percentages for each quarter, showing consistent improvement ranging from 10 to 17% growth year over year. Period over period charts offer several key benefits. They eliminate seasonal bias by comparing like periods, reveal true performance trends, help identify consistent patterns, and are essential for accurate business evaluation. By using period over period analysis, you can make more informed decisions about business performance and identify meaningful trends that might be hidden in sequential comparisons. Interactive visualizations are transforming how we engage with data. Unlike static charts that show fixed information, interactive visualizations allow you to explore, discover, and understand data in much deeper ways. Here's a traditional static bar chart showing quarterly sales data. You can see the values, but that's all the information available. You can't explore further or get additional details. Now, let's see the same data as an interactive visualization. The first key feature is hover actions. When you move your cursor over a data point, additional information appears. When you hover over the Q2 bar, a tooltip appears showing not just the sales figure, but also growth percentage and target comparison. This gives you much richer context than a static chart. Another powerful feature is click highlights. In this scatter plot showing sales volume versus profit margin, you can click on individual data points to select and highlight them for detailed analysis. When you click on product B, it becomes highlighted with a selection ring, and a detailed information panel appears, showing comprehensive data about that specific product. Interactive visualizations also provide detailed data insights through drill-down capabilities. This pie chart shows regional sales distribution, but you can click on any segment to explore deeper. When you click on the North Region segment, it expands to show a detailed breakdown of urban, suburban, and rural sales within that region. This multi-level exploration helps you understand your data at different granularities. Interactive visualizations offer significant advantages over static charts. They enable deeper exploration of your data, provide better understanding through contextual information, keep users engaged through active interaction, and offer flexible analysis capabilities that adapt to your specific needs. As data becomes increasingly complex, interactive visualizations are becoming essential tools for effective data analysis and communication. They transform passive viewers into active explorers, leading to better insights and more informed decisions. Data storytelling transforms raw numbers into compelling narratives that resonate with your audience. Instead of just presenting facts, we craft stories that make data memorable and actionable. On the left, we have raw data, just numbers in a table. It tells us what happened, but it doesn't engage us or help us understand why it matters. On the right, we transform the same data into a story with context, challenges, insights, and clear actions. Every compelling data story follows a classic narrative structure. We start with context to set the stage, introduce a conflict or challenge in the data, build to a climax where we reveal key insights, and end with a clear resolution showing what actions to take. Here's a practical example. The same sales data can be presented as just facts, a declining bar chart that shows what happened. Or we can transform it into a story that explains the decline, identifies the cause, and points towards solutions. The story version is far more compelling and actionable. Here are 4 key principles for effective data storytelling. First, know your audience and tailor your story to what matters most to them. Second, start with why. Begin with the question you're trying to answer. Third, show, don't tell. Use compelling visuals to support your narrative. Finally, always end with clear, actionable next steps. Data storytelling has measurable impact. Stories increase audience engagement by up to 300%, improve information retention by 65%, and boost the likelihood of action being taken by 200%. When we craft compelling narratives around our data, we transform numbers into insights that drive real change. Remember this key distinction. Data tells you what happened, but stories tell you what it means and what to do about it. Master the art of data storytelling, and you'll transform how your audience connects with and acts on your insights. Data visualization comes with important ethical responsibilities. As data storytellers, we must ensure our visualizations are honest, transparent, and protect people's privacy. The first principle is honesty and accuracy. Always use appropriate scales and avoid manipulating visual elements to exaggerate differences. Notice how the same data can look dramatically different depending on the scale used. Transparency builds trust with your audience. Always be clear about where your data comes from, how you collected it, and what limitations exist. This honesty helps viewers make informed decisions based on your visualizations. Protecting sensitive information is crucial. Always anonymize personal data, aggregate information when possible, and ensure you have proper consent before using people's data in your visualizations. Remember, ethical data visualization is about building trust with your audience. When you present data honestly, transparently, and with respect for privacy, you create visualizations that people can rely on to make important decisions.